January 18th. Thanks. Like what day is it? Meeting of the City Plan Commission. My name is Margaret Livingston, Chair of the Commission, and I call this meeting to order at 1:30 p.m. exact. We will have a statement for the public read.
Statement to the public. The City Plan Commission has sole and final approval authority over subdivision maps. Although the Commission is sole and final authority with respect to subdivision approval, this authority is statutorily limited to a ministerial examination of the application's conformance to all applicable code provisions. The staff report for an agenda item may include conditions, exceptions, or modifications. If the Commission does not wish to approve an exception or modification or require a condition, then the Commission's motion will state which have not been approved. Otherwise, the staff report with all modifications, exceptions, and conditions is approved, and the applicant shall comply with all provisions of the staff report. All agenda items other than subdivision items will be conducted in the form of a public hearing. The chairperson of the Commission may allocate and limit the time of persons speaking before the Commission. The normal process is as follows. First, the Commission will hear a staff report followed by a statement from the applicant. Then, members of the public may speak, followed by any final statement from the applicant. Finally, the matter will be closed to the discussion amongst the Commission. The Commission shall then make a recommendation that will be forwarded to the City Council.
Thank you. I don't have an agenda exactly, so what are we doing?
So we're going to start with a re-subdivision combination case, and then we're going to get into some reports from various departments throughout the city. But I do have one change,
okay,
which is going to be to delete item number 8. It was listed as a city attorney's office item, but they do not have an item. So we're just going to delete that one. But we'll start with the re-subdivision.
Sounds good. All in favor of the change?
So moved.
Accepted. There we go. So we're going to do item 1, SUSC 17-00001, Montecillo. Yes? That's the only one.
Can IT bring up item number 1? Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Nelson Ortiz with Planning and Inspections. Item number 1 is the second reconsideration for Montecillo Unit 11. The property is a re-subdivision combination application. The property is located north of I-10 and west of Montecillo. This is an aerial of the subject property. The aerial was taken back in 2016. That's the latest that we have. Since the aerial was taken, there has been construction on the top golf. This is the plat superimposed on the aerial. The preliminary plat. The final plat. The applicant proposes to subdivide approximately 60 acres of land for a smart code development, including mixed-use lots, a stormwater retention pond, and 2 private civic spaces. The applicant is proposing a private street within this development. Primary access to the subdivision is proposed from Suncrest and Montecillo Boulevard. This application is being reviewed under Title 21 and is required to comply with the approved Montecillo regulating plan. So just some case history. On April 20, 2017, the City Plan Commission approved Montecillo Unit 11 on a re-subdivision combination basis. On November 30th, 2017, the CPC reapproved Montecillo Unit 11 also on a re-subdivision combination basis, but approved it conditionally with the 3 conditions that follow. The second condition which reads that the applicant file a temporary turnaround document for Van Rambla in order to meet section 1915-100 dead-end streets and reference that document on the plat prior to recording the final plat is a condition that we are recommending be placed this time around. The other two conditions have since been satisfied. Now, this application is back for a second reconsideration as the applicant is requesting the following changes to the previously approved subdivision. Now, the changes on this reconsideration are occurring within the red box. Everything else is remaining the same. As you can see, on the right side is the former request. The applicant was proposing 2 commercial lots here and here. Now the applicant has turned lot 1, this one, and a portion of lot 2 into a stormwater retention pond, and lot 2 has shrunk in size. And again, the reason why lot 2 was shrunk in size was to accommodate the stormwater pond. So with that, staff recommends approval of Montecillo Unit 11 on a re-subdivision combination basis with the following 2 conditions. The first one, which is the one that I had already mentioned about the temporary turnaround document from November 30th. The second is a new condition, which reads that the applicant submits a regulating plan adjustment for review by the Consolidated Review Committee to bring the Montecillo regulating plan into conformance with the approved plat prior to recording the final plat. And with that, that does conclude my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions, staff? No. Can we hear from the applicant? Mr. Bogus?
Good afternoon. I'm David Bogus, the Director of Development for Montecillo. I'll entertain any questions you have.
Do you agree with the staff?
I absolutely agree.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Nope. Okay, we'll go ahead and close for further discussion or a motion.
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. So you're gonna have to help me, Alex.
The next item is the election of officers. We have a chair, a first chair, and a second chair, or first vice chair and second vice chair. And this is regularly conducted at the annual business meeting, even though we recently had election of officers to fill a vacancy. So we would first entertain motions for the chair, vote on that position, and then move on to the first vice chair and then the second vice chair.
Okay. Any?
I'll nominate Margaret.
Thank you.
Second.
Margaret's popular, she stays. First chair?
Would you like to vote on that one before we move on?
Oh, sorry, would we like to vote?
Yes.
I think we have to close the nominations first.
Okay.
Vote to close the nominations.
Vote to close the nomination. We're closing. Okay. Yes.
Aye.
Then,
There's a first
all
and a
in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Yes, ma'am. And
Thank
now
you.
on to the first
Now on to
vice
the
chair.
first chair. And I would like to nominate Conrad. Thank you. Can you remember?
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need to close the nominations first?
Close the nomination. Conrad. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Conrad stays. Second chair. Anybody?
I'd like to nominate Dr. Bonart.
Anyone else? Okay, close the nomination. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, there you go. Dr. Bonart, second chair. Did I do it right? Okay,
That's perfect.
I closed it.
And we
Okay.
voted already.
Yes.
Everything
done.
was unanimously approved.
Yes, thank you.
And then moving on to the next item, which is on the agenda, this is an opportunity for the commission members to propose changes to the bylaws. There was a change that was approved by this commission back in December. That had to do with the items being postponed. But we also want to give you all an opportunity if you want to suggest any changes to the bylaws at this time. They would not be voted on at this meeting, but we could draft something for distribution at the next meeting.
Okay, does anyone have any suggested changes to the bylaws?
Not at the moment, but if we did, could we approach that?
Yes, you can bring those back at any time.
Okay.
And then it has to set for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're good? No more, we can close that? No changes suggested,
Correct.
right? Okay. Discussion and action on CPC subcommittees?
Just for a little information for the, especially for the newer members of the commission, according to the bylaws, the City Plan Commission has 3 standing subcommittees: the zoning subcommittee, the subdivision, and the long-range subcommittees. And those subcommittees exist for the purpose of reviewing changes, for example, to the zoning code or to the comprehensive plan that are significant in nature, that are not the minor type of amendments that you might see on a regular basis. Typically what happens is the members of the CPC will let the chair know if they would like to serve on one or more of these subcommittees. And then the chair appoints the members. So we just want, you don't have to let her know today, but if you would let her know within the next couple of weeks, so that she can then make appointments to those subcommittees. They're not active unless an issue comes up that needs them to meet separately.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So if they can just email me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, item number 5 relates to park fees special fund report, Parks and Rec Department.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Gloria Benzor, and I'm presenting in behalf of Mr. McKnight. I'm here to present the annual, I'm sorry.
Could IT bring up the presentation for item number 4, please, the park fees?
Is that a report? No, not that one. The report, Parkland Education Report 2018, item number 4C. C. Yeah. Okay. So I'm here to present the annual Parkland Education Report. My name is Gloria Benzor, and who moved it? So we're complying with the strategic plan goals, promote the visual image of El Paso. Number 3 and number 7, enhance and sustain El Paso's infrastructure network. Here is a map showing the park zones. As you know, the city of El Paso is divided in 5 areas: Northwest, Mission Valley, Central, East, and Northeast. We have approximately 48 park zones. So I'm going to present to you 3 figures. The first figure for each one of the zones. The first figure will show the amount we have received since the Parkland Education Ordinance was established in 1989. The second figure will show the amount allocated to different projects through the years. And the third figure would show the amount unallocated that will be allocated for the master plan we are working on, that is called proportionately plan, that is to include amenities for the parks in it. So this one is for the Northwest Park zones. We received $2,529,561. The allocated amount was $2,188,017, and the unallocated is $341,544. So this, then on 2017, the funds allocated were for Jack Querrell Park improvements, turf and irrigation, and for the Galat Sand Acre, a new canopy over the existing playgrounds. The projects completed were Mission Hills metal canopy over existing playground, Paul Harvey half basketball courts, and Brian Abud spray park security cameras. Here we can see a picture of the Mission Hills playground canopy, and the Paul Harvey half basketball court. For Mission Valley Park zones, we have received $943,164. Total allocated $879,333, and total unallocated $63,831. For Mission Valley Park, the funds allocated were for Officer David Ortiz, used to be the Carolina Park. I'm sorry. And it was for the park renaming monument. We don't have projects completed on this park zone. For Central Park Zone, we have received $569,950, total allocated of $371,210, and total unallocated $198,740. On this park zone, we don't have projects funded or projects completed. On the East Park zone, we have received $2,578,832, total allocated of $2,387,422, and total unallocated $192,410. So on the East Park zone, we have allocated money for the following projects: East Cave Park, the new canopy; Coyote Cave Park, a new canopy; Brisa del Este Park, new playground; Suffolk Park, new playground; and Tierra Buena, the dog park, for new improvements. From the projects completed last year is the Escape Park improvements, including playground, swings, benches, and trash receptacles, and the Cielo Vista improvements, gate and driveway. Here we can see a picture of the Escape Park improvements. For the Northeast Park zone, we have received $1,761,959. The total allocated $1,525,562, and total unallocated $236,397. Funds allocated for Futureland Park, new park improvements. The projects completed: Grandview Spray Park, spray plaque and pedestal, and for Su Yang, the plaque and pedestal as well. We can see here the pictures of the plaques and pedestals. So this is a diagram showing the amount of acres we have received and included on the system. In 2016, 21.47, and in 2017, 9.27. These are the parks that were included on 2017. On District 1, Aircraft Estates Lineal Park, 1.83 acres. District 1, Aircraft Estates Pocket Park, 0.46 acres. District 5, Tierra del Sol, 4.08 acres. District 6, Starduster Park, 2.18 acres. And District 4, Mesquite Hills Trail, 0.72 acres. Total of 9.27. These are parks that are completed approximately 75 to 90%. And of course, they're not in the system, but they will be in the next, this year or next one. So we have Aviation Park on District 6, on District 1, Cimarron Stage Number 2, the Pocket Park, District 1, Cimarron Stage Number 2 Park, District 1, Enchanted Hills Number 3 Main Park, District 5, Miners Park, Tierra del Este Number 71, District 8, Montecillo Number 4, District 1, Rio Valley Central Park, District 1, Rio Valley North Exercise Trail, District 1, Rio Valley North Pocket Park Trail, District 1, Rio Valley South Pocket Park Trail, District 1, Rio Valley Esperanza Pocket Park Trail, District 1, Sereno Park, District 1, Sereno Valley Estates Trail, District 5, Danville at Horizon Park, District 5, Holly Springs Lineal Park. Total of 29.27 acres. If you have any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. Very, very nice. Any questions? Anybody? Looks good. No?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now move to item number 5, capital improvement projects. Yvette Hernandez.
IT, could you bring up the CIP presentation? Hi, Yvette Hernandez, Capital Improvement Department. This presentation will be primarily focused on the quality of life projects. So our projects fall in line with the strategic goal, 3, 4, 7, and 8. 3 and 4 being the visual image, 4 providing exceptional recreational, cultural, and educational environments, and 7 and 8 for infrastructure and nurture of a healthy, sustainable community. Do I advance it? How do I advance it? Ah. Sorry, on this mouse. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that. The project distribution, this is all the projects within the portfolio. So currently we have 37% that are completed. If you look at all the projects that are active, there's about 70% that are completed with 29% that are in the planning stage. Of the 58 projects that were completed, the breakdown is 35 in NIP, which is the Neighborhood Improvement Program, 11 parks projects, 2 library, 1 downtown, 8 zoo, and 1 museum project. These are photos of the interior and exterior of the West Side Pool, one of our larger projects that will be opening up this year. Same with Argyle Park. That one's projected to be opening this year as well. And we have Eastside Sports Complex. The project is near completion. Parks has opted to wait and let the grass really get some roots so we don't mess up our investment. And so we're looking to open this one later in the summer. So of the larger projects, we've grouped together the recreational centers. That's Alameda, Lomaland, and Chamizal. Currently, the design is in progress. I believe we're around 40 to 50%. And the project manager is getting ready to start working on a bid package with the construction manager at risk so we can start moving the demolition package forward. For our regional aquatic centers, this is District 1, Chelsea, District 4, and Lionel 40. Our next award will be in council, and that's for the design. We are awarding the contract to one consultant to all four, and then in February, we have a construction manager at risk for Chelsea and Lionel 40. And in February, we'll probably be advertising for Districts 1 and 4 on the construction manager at risk. We've highlighted a couple of projects that have already been completed. They're located throughout the city. Here we have libraries, parks in Districts 2 and 8, and the gazebo in District 4. More completed projects. We have the event tent at the zoo, which is a revenue generator. I know that they're doing really well with the construction of this project. We also have some parks here highlighted that have been completed. So within the quality of life, we have the neighborhood improvement program. So just wanted to give you a snapshot of what we've been doing. Currently, we're in our third phase, and the fourth phase, we're working on construction estimates. So 67% of those projects have been complete. There's some bulleted items on the side just to give you just an update of the recent completions. So James Grant, we finished the lighting. We're looking to start on Mountain View, Houston. Last week, or not last week, but the last council, Socorro, was awarded. And for this next council on the 23rd, Jack D. Corliss will be awarded the construction contract. So just looking by phases, phase 2, there was a total of 15 projects. 11 have since been completed. One project is in hold. That's because it is in alignment with a project that Water Utilities is currently doing at Thomas Manor. Love Road has been on delay for a while, but we have finally finished the land acquisition. So I believe the pre-construction meeting is going to be held by next week, so we should be getting started on that one. The last two projects are in bidding phase, and that's for Ponsford and Manhattan Heights. Unfortunately, the bids came in a bit high, so we rejected the bids, and now we're being strategic about how we put this out to bid. One of the items is, since it's specialized with steelwork, we're going to use an open-end contract. And since the contractor has experience within this area, we're hoping we'll get a more competitive bid. As you guys well know, the market's pretty saturated right now, so we're having to be a little creative. NIP Phase 3, there was a total of 20 projects. 6 are complete. We have 4 scheduled for the completion of design this month. One of the projects actually aligned again with the water utilities, so it has been removed from the capital improvement portfolio, but we're still keeping that money within this phase. 3 projects are within the bidding phase, and 6 are currently in construction. So NIPs are smaller in nature. Just wanted to give you a picture of some of the completed projects. At Newman Park, we have the park signage, canopies at Lomaland, a rock wall at the Wayne Pond, and there were 5 additional lights, that's the red dots, in the James Grant neighborhood. So 2018 proves to be a very exciting year for us. This is when you will see our larger projects. So this is not all, because it would be a long list, but these are really larger projects that we're going to be starting in construction. So that's the recreation centers, all three, and all 4 aquatic centers, Chelsea, Lionel, Districts 1 and 4. We have the Eastside Regional, Bartlett Park, the Northeast Regional, Shaver Park, Sportsfield Rehab, Eastside Center, Memorial, and then the zoo is going to start off on their signature project, the Chihuahuan Desert. So it's going to be a fun year. And at this, I complete my presentation if you have any questions or comments.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yep.
All right.
We're very, very busy, but it's good. It's very good.
That is great. No,
Yes.
it's very encouraging and positive. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
See that.
Anybody? No?
No? Okay. Thank you.
Looks good. Thank you so much. Next, we have item number 8, Texas Department of Transportation, Jennifer Wright.
Hello, hi, how is everybody?
Hi, good, how are you?
Hi. I think I know almost all of you. Nice to see you all. So do we have a presentation up? Basically, what I'd like to do today is talk about our corridor studies that we have, or that we're in the midst of right now. We have some upcoming meetings. It's how TxDOT plans. Then we have some projects under construction. I can give you a quick update on those. And then we have some projects under development that might be of interest to you. I have this on a thumb drive if you need.
If IT could bring up number 6, the
I'm sorry.
TxDOT project presentation.
Oh, yeah. Do you have the USB?
Oh, yeah, we have a thumb drive.
I Dropboxed it yesterday.
We sent it, but
You should already have it. Go down to the...
I need a hairbrush.
Yes, belts and suspenders. I did bring it on a thumb drive. Oh, there it is. Alrighty, here we go. So do I advance the slides? Okay, with this mouse right here, or the arrows? Got it, okay. Here we go. This is an overview of just the El Paso County portion of some current projects going on. I'm not going to read this to you. You guys have it in a PDF. I'm happy to say that we've advanced many of these projects from the partially funded into the funded, and some from the unfunded into the partially funded. And that's something that gets updated periodically as funding becomes available. And going to focus on the corridor studies that we're undertaking here in El Paso, as opposed to, we have one down country in US 67, which runs from Presidio to Marfa and beyond, and that one is, of course, several counties over. So, let me look at this. What is it? Okay, this is the Reimagine I-10 corridor study that is broken into 4 segments: the northern gateway, the downtown, the airport, and the southern gateway. This has had a very active website, reimaginei10.com, and that's gotten hundreds of responses, ideas for this, and we are evaluating the input. Yesterday we had a 3 or 4 hour long meeting where we looked at the first blush of recommendations that were made based on community input on what we can do to improve I-10 and make it the best it can be. And that one was sort of chock full of nuclear options, as in, like, this is the absolutely, like, the best we could possibly do, and these ambitions do get scaled back with the realities of funding and our ability to do it. This project itself, as you know, I-10 is sort of a through town. It's a patchwork of pothole repairs and pavement on the verge of failing, and rehabilitating I-10 just for that will be $1 to $2 billion and beyond. So this would be done over a period of 10 years and in various phases, obviously. And let me see what we've got here. So These upcoming meetings would be our second series of meetings where we're going to be unveiling some of these ideas that we have. Then the later meetings will be like coming back and saying what's more reasonable, what did the public think about this? So the public process is so important in everything that we do at TxDOT, because honestly, when we were doing this corridor study, I was trying to get people to participate, and my line was, nobody drives it like you do. Nobody's particular commute is your commute. You drive by it every day. Our engineers don't drive every inch of the highway, hence we really rely on public's view of, hey, this part always gets congested, and I think it's because of this. And so that's how we do these improvements. So we'll be unveiling in our winter meetings some of these ideas that are presented, and we'll be getting your opinions, and then we'll go back and refine those alternatives and come up with some preferred alternatives that are reasonable and achievable. Oh, and the dates are there on that too, so please take note. Stakeholder meetings, and I would certainly welcome you to the stakeholder meetings, would be Tuesday, February 13th and Wednesday, February 14th. We do announce these in the paper. They also, we tweet them out. I hope you follow TxDOT El Paso on your Twitter feed if you do. And also, if you aren't all on my email list, please give me your email address and I will add you to it so that you can get updates on things like this. So what we do in our corridor studies, this applies to all the corridor studies, is that we look for solutions that we can achieve in the near term, midterm, and long term, the long term being 20 years or so, and the midterm being the 7 to 20 years, and the near term being the 1 to 7 years, 1 to 5 years in that area. Just checking. So again, that project webpage is reimaginei10.com. It's great. It's got interactive maps. You can also go to it and see what other people have said. So I think that that's an important thing too, because people are thinking of things that not everyone, you know, like you might want to reinforce or you might want to refute what somebody's idea is. The Donovan Drive Corridor Study is part of the State Highway 20. State Highway 20, of course, comes in at the state line as Donovan, comes at the crossroads. It's Mesa up until downtown here. I guess it's Texas for a short ways, and then it's Alameda. So that's how we've broken that project up. It's really the same corridor, but just divided into 3 areas that are very distinct. For the Donovan portion, next week we're having our next series 3 in our public meetings. Monday night at Lincoln Middle School in the gym. They're both at 5 to 7 p.m. And then on Tuesday night it's going to be at Canutillo High School. Please join us. You'll see at that point, this one being in the 3rd series, unlike the I-10 study, you'll see that we've taken the public input, come up with 3 alternatives, and now we're going to be presenting the version of alternatives that we presented before, and we've now taken the public's opinion from those versions, and we'll have a preferred recommended alternative to that one. Mesa Street, also ongoing. The study's 75% complete, and we've held our public meetings. The upcoming ones are February 6th at Mesita, the 7th at Moorhead, and the 8th at Coronado. Again, those will be 5 to 7 p.m. Typically, those are in a gym. I think that Mesa is of particular interest, maybe, to this group. I know that Dr. Bonart came out to TxDOT, made the drive, and was able to give some input on the last one. I encourage all of you to do that, just so that you can see. It's like gazing into a crystal ball. You can look into the future and see what it might become, and I think it would help this body in particular. Alameda's just underway, so we're going to have our first series in this spring, and then continue into the summer and the winter of next year. Now it's typical for these studies to take about 18 months, and then of course the projects come years after that. You have to get used to geologic time dealing with TxDOT because it takes that long to plan, to get the funding, and then to execute these roadways. Here's our key construction projects ongoing now. The braided ramps in front of the fountains is basically the mall braided ramps. They started work on January 2nd with a big surprise. It's a surprise to all of us. Those of us who had appeared on the news for no fewer than 5 appearances in the weeks leading up to it weren't told that it was going to close the Hawkins off-ramps in each direction. So we had real missed opportunities there where we could have alerted the public like we do on, without fail, on our other projects. We have advance notice of that sort of thing. So there was an internal communication error, and that happened. So now we're working with providing the shops and businesses with maps of alternate routes. This morning, I understand those of you who listen to a particular radio station wherein they were calling me Captain Obvious for recommending an alternate route. So there you go, I'm Captain Obvious. We do indeed recommend an alternate route. If you're trying to get to the airport, try not to get off at Airway, because Airway has no storage. A lot of people, they think, oh, well, I'll just get off at the exit before. If you're trying to get to the airport, I recommend you get off at the Paisano and go up to Montana. That's a pretty good straight shot up to Montana, or Geronimo. Make that little S curve and get up to Montana to Airway, especially if you're one of those people who's packing at the last minute and running out the door with your bags. It won't be a happy scenario trying to get off at Airway. Not only does Airway have no storage, but adding insult to injury, they've narrowed the frontage road, Gateway East, down to 1 lane for basically from Airway to Hawkins. So, anyway, I recommend get to know Robert E. Lee as well. You can get off at Geronimo, you can go up Robert E. Lee. If you're going to go shopping, dining, having fun, movies at either of these entities, I recommend trying to get up to Viscount and coming in the back way. That would be a good alternative there. Hawkins intersection remains open. This project is separating, building a braided ramp. It means that anyone who's shopped at the fountains or at the mall during the holiday season knows you take your life into your hands when you pull out of the fountains and try to get onto like I-10 West, or get around so that you can make a U-turn there and head back east. High-speed traffic coming off of Viscount is trying to get up enough speed so that they can get onto I-10. You've got traffic exiting at high speeds. And they're all merging. You've got people pulling out of the fountains and gunning it and trying to get over and get on in time. It is a hair-raising experience and quite dangerous. And by doing these braided ramps, we're going to allow, take the Viscount traffic basically out of the equation and send them up and over on a ramp so that the merge action isn't happening there between that traffic and the traffic coming off the mall, off of the Hawkins exit, the new Hawkins exit. So that's going to be a big help there. And we'll move the on-ramp farther west so that you can have the option of a greater distance to get over before you have to get on. So that's going to be a big improvement. And by the way, you don't have to wait till the end if you have questions. Please feel free to just ask me a question about any of these projects that interests you. Here's another project that started in earnest this year, the US 54 main lanes. We're giving in the much needed 3rd lane. We're widening to the middle. Didn't take right-of-way acquisition. We have the right-of-way. We're also doing the operational improvements of adding the Texas turnarounds, as they're known across the country, in the intersections that don't have them. On both Hondo Pass and Trans Mountain, there's a U-turn lane on the southern side. This will add the U-turn lanes to the northern sides as well, and also at Diana in both directions. So that's affecting 3 intersections. We're doing the widening, we're adding the U-turn lanes, and we're changing the ramp configuration so that the merge action is no longer on US 54. When you have the old model of diamond ramps, I think they call them, where you put traffic on and the on-ramp is before the off-ramp, the merge is on the main lanes. It slows things down. People are going at higher speeds. It's more dangerous. So rather we're doing as there exists in some intersections around town, the exit ramp will be first, and then the on-ramp will be past that. So we're basically reversing the order of the ramps, putting the merge action onto the frontage roads. And that's a way safer and more efficient way to control the movement there. Alameda is getting a widening and also getting some operational improvements. This is between Loop 375 and Presa, I think goes, no, all the way to Padres. Loop 375 to Padres. Right now, phase 1 is Loop 375 to Presa. We're adding medians in there because there's some left turn movement into the shopping center there. I think it has Walmart. And because there's just sort of one of those, I guess they call them bidirectional turn lanes. Some people call them suicide lanes because you basically have a turn lane where you could be trying to turn left and a car coming the other direction. So we're actually adding medians there to prevent that, and that's going to help control traffic around there a little bit better. It's a very congested place. So we're well on the way with phase 1, and we'll be starting phase 2 soon. Mesa Park improvements. I know that some of you would be interested in hearing that. This project is going gangbusters. If you've driven on I-10 between Executive Center and Sunland Park, you've seen most of the columns are up. They're already starting to put on the bent caps. They're just going to focus on bent caps for right now, and then they're going to bring in all of the girders at the same span of time for it's often a transportation issue trying to get your girders delivered. And so getting them all done at once will help that project move along quite efficiently. Today when I drove by, they were putting the columns up in the median, which is tremendously exciting, I think. If you're kind of a transportation nerd and you like that sort of thing, it's very exciting for me to see that happen. Now, TxDOT will of course not be, and maybe you guys can fill me in on who might be making the connection to Mesa Park at Mesa in there, because obviously it's going to be up to the city and developers to make those connections in there and add the access. And I don't go speak to a group where somebody doesn't ask, how are you going to get to Topgolf? Is that how you're going to get to Topgolf? I don't know. Right now I tell them I think you have to go on Wallenberg off Mesa Hills. Border West Expressway is on track with the new date. It is almost a year behind from the original date, but of course the original date was set before they understood how difficult it was going to be to work with the UPRR and BNSF. It's very dangerous to have employees working around going concerns. Those are not just any railroad lines. Those are primary Class 1 railroad lines. They're very busy. They're very busy, particularly in the winter when there's inclement weather other places of the country. And so it's just difficult to schedule in. But now that they're overcoming, now that they know the challenges, they reset the date. And plus, we added on a bridge at Delta so that there'll be a bridge. Delta will span over the railroad tracks and over the Franklin Canal now, providing a safer way to school for the kids in the neighborhood and not holding up cars as the trains by BNSF get longer and longer. Here's the video, and we don't have to let it run the whole way, but this is the finished product. Here we are. There's McNutt Bridge over the river. There's Paisano and Doniphan. Paisano's to the right of the screen, and then Doniphan is split on either side of the main lanes of the Border West Expressway. At this point, there's approximately 14 lanes of traffic going north and south in El Paso. So that is really phenomenal. As it comes around, you can see Doniphan coming together again and meeting into Paisano, which is a new and welcome addition. McNutt is now open head-to-head traffic in one direction. By Easter, we'll see executive centers straighten out. Right now, you go over a little shoe fly, a little curvy detour, but they're going to straighten that out, and it'll be resembling its final configuration soon, so they can build the other side of that bridge. And then here's the particularly tricky part, where we put these massive steel girders, these caps that go supporting the roadway here, that were hundreds of feet long. I don't even remember how long they were, but they're very long, and they're built to span the railroad tracks. You can see that in some case the bridge, the highway is only on one direction is over those caps, but it's because they had to be so long to span the railroad tracks below. We're also adding another line for one of the railroad there. Here we are coming up to Spur 1966. And then I think it's particularly interesting how narrow the segment gets as you approach Sunset Heights. Right now, just after Spur 1966, and just as Bridge 17 takes off over the border fence, the distance between the neighborhood and the border fence there is about 200 yards. In that 200 yards, you have 2 Class A rail lines, Paisano, I-10, part of this just before it departs. It's a lot to fit into that very narrow space. It's an engineering marvel, as is this bridge. Bridge 17, over a mile long, on the levee. Some of the columns have drill shafts that go 100 feet down. You stick a shovel in the earth over there and you hit water immediately, so they had to get down to bedrock, basically, to support those columns. Here's where the tolling begins, heading north. The tolling starts downtown there. And there's limited access from downtown now to the border highway. Leaving downtown, you'll only be able to get on during going westbound at 2 streets, Campbell and Oregon. And then leaving downtown, if you want to get onto the border highway eastbound, you'll take Paisano down to Coles, where you'll find these beautiful new direct connects that will take you from Paisano directly onto the border highway in both directions. Those also will be completed by Easter. You can see them coming up here. I can let this run back the entire direction back, or we can move on. It's completely up to you. Anyone who wants to let it run? Who wants to just move on?
Wait. There you go. We have a keep going.
Let it run?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because
Dr. Bonart wants to see it running.
It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
It is a great video.
So another way that you can get on the border highway eastbound from downtown is to go ahead and take one of those streets that accesses it and go westbound on the border highway. You'll pass under the El Paso Street Bridge. You'll be charged the toll. And then you can go take the U-turn lanes that are being constructed as part of this project at Spur 1966. And when you go back under the gantry, it'll remove the toll. Right? It's the marvels of modern technology. So this again is the reason that there's limited access out of downtown is that this is now going to be high-speed roadway, and you won't be able to cross the median. It's going to have a solid median there, and it will have deceleration lanes coming so that you can get off of it at downtown before the tolling begins. But frankly, I think it's going to be worth the price of admission just to drive on this bridge where you'll have this scenic view into Mexico as you drive over the levee.
Are you going to try to limit commercial traffic to one of these options?
We are bound to not discriminate against any class of users. Anyone who wants to, we believe it might be self-limiting based on the tolls, but you know, it just depends. Often the commerce finds its way to the free bridge as opposed to the paying bridges, and, you know, it'll, I mean, it should be a comfortable alternative to I-10 with all the truck traffic that we are currently getting.
I would think the trucks would use this more.
It's possible. Again, here you can see the trains just going right under, and those massive steel caps, bent caps that are there. And that bridge is near completion too. You can see them pouring the bridge deck. They have crews working 24/7, often 6 days a week on this project. But again, sometimes they're just limited by the rail schedules, so they shift their attention to another area. Here we are running right alongside I-10, and then it diverges to go dive down under Executive Center, which I think is another fun feature. I really think it's going to be a fun road to drive. I'm really looking forward to it.
Very neat. So we've already seen this, right? Right, yeah, we saw it.
Yeah,
We're
it's
good?
going
Okay.
back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Very nice.
Now, this is the point at which the Border West Expressway and Go 10 come together. Those are the car dealerships on Paisano, on the west side by Sunland Park. And you'll have the option of, from the Border Highway, Border West Expressway, and from Paisano to get up to Sunland Park, like you used to be able to do from Paisano, get up to Sunland Park. But now you have an additional bridge that will take you to Sunland Park from the Border Highway. And then on the right side of the screen, the upside, you see the bridges that will take you from Paisano and from I-10 onto either the Border West Expressway or to Paisano there in this picture, which takes me to Go 10, which is very near completion. This will be, for all intents and purposes, probably finished by the end of this year. There may be some minor connections and some minor things happening into next year, but this is the painful year. This is the year where we're going to see Sunland Park rebuilt, taking down the direct connect. You can see we're building the new direct connect alongside, and we've got the U-turn lanes. Now we have to protect those structures when we take down the old direct connect, and it's the bridge and the highway underneath. And then that bridge also will need to come out, the original bridge, as we rebuild that center bridge. So we'll have those U-turn lanes we'll be able to steer traffic onto to get people through that intersection. This is going to hurt. This is going to be a very, very painful year for this project. I know that we promised you pain on it, and we're delivering this year. We've tried really hard. We've done many things to try to alleviate traffic woes, such as maintaining 3 lanes of traffic in each direction on I-10 when the contractor was contractually able, if they had pushed it, to narrow it down to 2 lanes. But we thought, let's eliminate the shoulder and let's keep 3 lanes, or we would have a massive traffic jam day in and day out, every day, rather than just when, you know what it's like when a stalled vehicle blocks. Imagine that as a permanent condition there. So in any case, we've still been able to accelerate. You can see the expected completion date of August 2019 crossed out, and we're looking at the end of this year. So it's a little bit like ripping the Band-Aid off instead of slow torture. But when they do go to rebuild that Sunland Park interchange, we'll see probably 2 consecutive 3-day weekend closures of I-10, which will be, I was hoping they could do that at spring break and we could just tell everybody to get out of town, but it doesn't look like it'll happen before the end of April now. Here's that project completed. And when we come to Sunland Park, we're starting at Mesa. Mesa's getting redone. It's going to be much wider. It's going to have U-turn lanes in each direction. It's going to be a lovely intersection. We built that center bridge so that we could keep traffic flowing by steering traffic onto the center bridge. We're getting ready for phase 2, wherein we will put eastbound traffic on its final bridge, and then we'll steer westbound onto those center lanes and then rebuild the westbound bridge. That is another measure that we took to ease your traffic woes, is build that bridge for traffic when it really isn't necessarily to be. We built the Wrestler Direct Connect before we had it ready to go, before we took the old one down. We did that in 2 consecutive Sunday closures last fall. And as we approach Sunland Park, you'll see it is far more complicated. The lovely thing about this is it'll alleviate the traffic jam that is a daily headache for commuters from the west side as they head toward downtown or farther east, in that the merge that you see of people getting on from Wrestler and on from Sunland Park, the merge point is much farther along. They have the options here of getting onto Paisano or onto the Border West Expressway, and it isn't until now that you see some of that traffic merging together on spacious lanes and not interfering with the through traffic that's headed all the way across, trucks traveling through town or people in it for a longer haul. And then, of course, further down here, that's when that traffic can merge into I-10, and it actually still has those additional lanes. So that virtually ought to eliminate that daily headache that we all experience from time to time if that's your commute. Mesa Park, this is what it's looking like. Again, they're going really quickly on that. Contractor is Dan Williams. He likes to get things done, get in, get it done, get out. You can see on the we're going to swing around here, and you'll see how the westbound entrance from Executive Center onto I-10 is coming back as part of the Mesa Park project as well. It was originally part of this project, but they took it out because there was a different scenario that we thought was going to unfold there, and it didn't happen that way. But so we just let the project as original, but still it was already separated out. So coming back here, I want you to note as you come down. Oh, also Executive Center is going to be closed. I think it's on Sunday the 28th, completely closed from Mesa down to Paisano, while they rebuild these ramps and remove some of the concrete. And so that free right turn we're enjoying, getting off at Executive westbound and getting off at Executive eastbound, those free right turns are going away as they build those off ramps in 2 stages. So instead of an on-ramp like it used to be onto I-10, you'll come through the Mesa Park intersection, and then you'll travel along those lanes, and then you'll get on in a much more comfortable situation than was in existence before, where you were getting on in a blind curve with high-speed traffic and very few lanes. Now you have lots of lanes, clear visibility, you're coming in from above. It's going to be a much more comfortable situation. And at this point, you can see the CD lanes are basically part of I-10, and then you'll have a decision point to get off for Sunland Park much earlier. Yes, we got that the first time. I don't know why that's on there twice. It always annoys me, but it was somebody's idea of a solution there, because that didn't fit geometrically. So, and then here we go. Traffic coming on from Paisano and from the Border West Expressway is then steered onto the CD lanes. So again, there's not going to be a merge situation slowing traffic down on I-10. And then getting on at Sunland Park, you have this, you eliminate that also scary people trying to get on at Sunland Park and get off at Wrestler. So your decision point that you're going to get off at Wrestler will also be way back before, I mean, the same exit for Sunland Park will be the exit you take for Wrestler. So that's going to be helpful. And then if you were coming on from one of those other places, here's your point at which, if you're coming on from Border West or Paisano, here's your point at which you'll get onto I-10. And then we're just heading back up to Mesa. So should I move on?
Mm-hmm.
This I-10 widening Zaragoza to East Lake is in its final phases. We're expecting that to be done by spring. That's just the widening portion. It's phase 4 of where we're just widening. And all of this, as I mentioned before, we see the big America's Interchange there. That project, a friend of mine who's an engineer there said that that was her very first project upon which she worked when she came to work at TxDOT 22 years ago. So that just shows you how long it takes for us to, but we are, we're always building to future conditions. Sometimes things change and we have to move projects up. Here we're doing the widening on Loop 375, Montana to Bob Hope. That's near completion too. There was a big clay deposit. Anybody drive Loop 375 out there?
Every day.
You have a good fun when you hit that bump and woohoo, your stomach.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. That's a big clay deposit that was under the roadway, and as it got wet, the clay expanded. So now, when you drive it, it's not as severe, but it's the same condition persists. But it's just because it's not as wet as it has been. So we have to get in there and basically excavate that whole clay deposit and backfill it. So the barricades are up for a while longer. Old Waco Tanks is nearing completion, and that's also in cooperation with the County of El Paso, as was the braided ramps. Very near completion. It's going to be a big boon. We did a Pell study a while ago, and we are looking at improving the connections. One of the things that was necessary for economic development for the Lower Valley is to increase the number of connections from North Loop and Alameda up to I-10. So that's super helpful. Here's projects that are under development. I-10 Connect project will be providing the direct connect ramps from 54 and from I-10 down to the border highway and to Paisano. An important function of this project is that it will separate out the southbound traffic into Mexico on 110, making the decision point much farther back so that the traffic doesn't merge. So if you're trying to get to the zoo or you're trying to get somewhere else, you're not going to get stuck in that 4 p.m. nightmare of truck traffic where you're just you can see your exit up there, but it's going to take you an hour to get to it. This is going to put the decision point way back. It's going to increase the number of lanes, increase the vehicle storage, and in working with CBP, we're able to add an additional lanes for trucks. Another super important thing that came about after our public meetings was the concern about air quality because of all the trucks idling on Paisano. This project is going to eliminate the southbound right turn from Paisano into the port. All traffic, it's just going to eliminate that altogether. Bikes, people can walk, you can bike, you can cross the bridge there. Everyone in a vehicle is going to have to go up Cotton onto I-10 and get in line like everybody else, because that was basically people cutting the line. So this is going to eliminate that maneuver. It's going to stop all those idling trucks from being on Paisano. It's going to stop the truck traffic that goes right by an elementary school on Piedras. There's absolutely no reason now for those trucks to be in that neighborhood waiting their turn to cross. I say waiting their turn, they're cutting the line. That's really how that is. That's what that amounts to. And that slows traffic down for everybody else from behind, coming from somewhere else. So that project is going to let September 2018. That's coming right up. That's going to be about an $85 million project. It's also going to allow us to have alternate routes off of I-10 onto the border highway and onto Paisano, alternate routes for when we have to shut down I-10 to fix it. There'll be ways to get people onto the border highway once that project is complete and this project is complete. Then we'll be able to go to work on I-10 in earnest. This is right now slated to be managed lanes, frontage roads, and ramps. Anybody traveling south from I-10 down toward the Zaragoza port of entry knows that it's a nightmare where the Alameda exit is. There's cars that are going 5 miles an hour and cars whizzing by at 70 miles an hour, and it's because that's just not adequate. So we're going to improve the frontage road so there will be a bridge over the railroad tracks past Alameda now. It's going to be vastly improved with that project. So that one should let later this year. This one, okay, I'm just going to show you this. This is unbelievable what Montana is going to become. It's basically going to be a major freeway, and this project is letting September this year. We'll be doing phase 1, which will be basically from Global Reach to Loop 375. Phase 2 will take it all the way out to Tierra Este, past Rich Beam. And the, yeah, so there's the limits of it. And then phase 3 will be adding these direct connect ramps you're going to see on this video, which is astounding. The way that we're able to do this job is we worked out a deal with Fort Bliss on some projects around the spur, and they're bordering Fort Bliss, where we agreed to take over maintenance if they would give us 200 feet of roadway on the north side of Montana. So we'll be able to build the bulk of this before we have to shut down Montana. So this is just Global Reach. Wait till you see the intersection of Loop 375. It's absolutely jaw-dropping. Again, those direct connect ramps you see there are going to be in the final phase. This is much needed. Everyone's aware of the growth that's happened out on the east side there, and how dangerous Montana can be when there's all of a sudden a long span before there's a traffic light, and people speeding along, particularly at night, sometimes just don't register. And we've had several deaths where people have just plowed into a car that was stopped at a light on Montana. This will, of course, help with that and just increase the mobility out there from all the neighborhoods that are now east of Zaragoza and east of the Loop 375. Not to mention all the commerce. So you can see Lee Trevino, George Dieter, they've all gotten overpasses in this scenario. And then here we are. This one, it's an underpass instead of an overpass. But you can imagine what these multiple lanes are going to do for the traffic out there. It's going to, I think, be a real boon to the whole area, and should probably relieve some of the stresses to I-10 in this area. Look at Joe Battle. Look at Joe Battle.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
I may never leave my house. I said I may never leave my house. All these changes. Lost.
I know, it's amazing. It really is amazing. I mean, this is something I'm just delighted to see coming. I guess I said Tierra Este, but the actual limit is Rich Beam. But you can see it just sort of goes back to the Montana we all know and love out by Rich Beam.
Well, after that, it's a free shot since the Zaragoza Bridge has been installed for that many years.
Yeah, this one, I don't think this is fast. Wow. So that one, yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
very needed.
Yeah,
There's
much
a lot-
needed.
A lot of activity out there.
This one just looks like nothing compared to that, but we are going to be adding improvements and widening on Loop 375 up to Spur 601.
Wow.
Which is, I know, it's like desert right now, but I think that's probably needed for Fort Bliss expansion. We're now in the process of being the proud owners of the Wells Fargo Bank and the Arby's that used to be, or still maybe are, at Saragossa and Montwood. That Saragossa-Montwood intersection is like the #1 for crashes in the city of El Paso. So we're going to make the connection where if you're coming north on Saragossa, you'll just be able to stay on Saragossa to get to the other side of Saragossa. And that's that curving portion, and then you see a retention pond there. And that'll alleviate a lot of the stress there at Montwood that's happening now. So that's going to be that's a big improvement and a fairly low cost considering. And that, again, is letting later this year. So I just was hitting the highlights. This is not everything we have in store, but this is basically, like, we have future projects. They were in the red on that unfunded slide. But I just wanted to, that for us was a brief presentation of just what's going on right now. Any questions?
I have a question. So, like you said, these are in geological timelines.
Yeah.
For instance, for Mesa, what are you looking at as far as maybe, when would you let that project?
So Mesa isn't one project. Mesa is actually, if you come to the Donovan meeting, you'll see that when we do a corridor study, we're looking at, remember, we're looking at quick fixes, midterm projects, and long-term projects. So the long-term being 20 years. So on Mesa, like on Donovan, for example, which is a little bit further along as a corridor study, they have broken up Donovan into approximately 16 different projects that are short, mid, and long-term projects. So the short-term ones can be complete within 5 years, and the long-term ones. So once this Mesa corridor study is completed, again, they will have the same type of, here's a quick fix, here's something we need to plan for, and here's the long-term vision for this project that's going to require a NEPA study, it's going to require right-of-way acquisition, it's going to be very involved in order to pull it off, whatever it is. It's going to be high cost, lots of planning involved. But, you know, some things, perhaps adding a right turn bay would be a quick fix. That's something that could happen in a short time. So as we get closer to completion on that corridor study, you'll see, you know, the projects broken up like that. Like, here's what we could do now, here's what we can do a little bit later, and ¿me entiendes?
Do you,
Yeah.
is it a good turnout at the public meetings of the public?
No.
It is
Typically not. Typically, it varies depending on the part of the town we're in, and the importance, I suppose, of the corridor. We're hitting it pretty hard in the media with the Donovan. So by next Monday and Tuesday night, we'll know. Often, sadly, there's 15 consultants and TxDOT employees standing around who have worked so hard on these presentations, and they're amazing and wondrous. I mean, the amount of thought and preparation that goes into these studies, and it's a little bit disheartening, but we totally understand because people are
They're
torn.
stuck in traffic.
Thank you. Yes, people have soccer games to get to. They have dinner to prepare. They have social lives. They have pets.
5:30 p.m. or something like that.
Well, we do them 5 to 7, and you can drop by at any time.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's not an immediate effect. These are things that are going to take a long time to do. People have active lives. They've got other priorities. We understand it's difficult, which is why on something like the Reimagine I-10, having it online, we've gotten hundreds of responses by offering it online. So you'll see probably more of that happening in the future as it goes. And I think the whole process will benefit for it. Sometimes we do have a pretty good turnout of 25 people or something. And if it's a controversial project, we get 100 people.
Yeah.
So,
The two projects that I went to simultaneously, as you'll recall.
I guess.
I think I was the only guy.
Yeah. Well, and also when we have them over a 2-hour period, you're not necessarily there at the same time somebody else. It doesn't take you 2 hours.
I looked at the sign-in sheet.
Oh.
I think I was the only guy
At the Mesa,
when I went all the way over.
and I gave him a bum steer. He said, "Where's this meeting?" And I was like, "It's right here downtown. Come to." And then he showed up and he was like, "This isn't the meeting." I went. I was like, "Oh." He said, "I went to Mesa." I was like, "I'm sorry. That is down at headquarters." But
That was well attended. I went to the Mesa one.
you did at headquarters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was quite a few people in and out of there.
This one just this past winter on the snow day?
Yes, on the snow day, our
Yeah?
big snow day. Mhm.
Yeah, our snow day. Well, good. I mean, it just, they vary, and I'm not sure that I've unlocked the mystery to why some are better attended than others.
Well, you'll certainly hear from them when they can't move about freely on those roads, right?
Yeah, and we say, we had a public meeting, but anyway. I mean, we're working to increase participation, and thank you for this opportunity to come to before you and invite you all and advise you all of when they're coming. And we have a new PIO at TxDOT, and she's very well connected. So she's dragged us, Gus, many of us to in front of the cameras for like live interviews for some of this upcoming. And so we'll see if it works. I mean, that's all we can do is try different avenues, and we're cautiously optimistic, but we do appreciate when you all do show up and help us see what we can't see alone.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just
Any
one
questions?
really quick, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I saw something on the news this morning. Is this campaign by TxDOT the free towing campaign?
Oh, yes,
Is that
thanks
by
for
TxDOT?
asking. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's actually funded by through the MPO, Federal Highway funding, and we are now providing, we've just expanded that towing service. This is it precedes the big HERO program that you all may remember when there was TxDOT trucks patrolling I-10 and helping people with light mechanical work, a couple gallons of gas. Remember? I mean, it was a long time ago. Some of you guys are too young to remember this, but so because of all the construction that we're undergoing, we felt like it was important to, particularly because we made the decision on GO10 to eliminate the shoulders in favor of mobility most of the time. But then when a car did stall out there, it was the traffic jam from where. So a very smart guy who works for us thought, I'm going to figure out a way to fund this, and he did. And so we started out with $68,000 and just a few months to get us through the end of last year, where we were towing just in the work zone of GO10, basically from, we actually expanded it from Copia to Thorn so that we could yank those vehicles out of the way, just get them to a safe place so they could do whatever was needed. And it was more cars than we imagined, about 30 per week on average. And so we decided with the Fountains project coming in that we would do everything else, in our power. So we let a $100,000 contract that'll be 6 months or $100,000, whichever comes first, while we're working to revive that HERO program, which would be then citywide and would not only include tows, but would also include some of that light mechanical, help you change a tire, give you a couple gallons of gas, because guess what's the #1 cause of cars stopped on the I-10? Out of gas.
Yeah,
Number
it's a
2,
very bad
flat
habit.
tires.
Some of us probably have.
Yeah, I always encourage, don't drive with less than a quarter tank of gas in your car.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because we're really, really proud and happy to be offering that and expanding it now so that it goes all the way to Viscount. So just if a thing happens, if a car stalls out, anything happens to you, just stay in your car. They'll be there just, I mean, I said on the news the other day within a half an hour, but literally it's about 10 minutes. You'll wait in your car about 10 minutes, the tow truck will come. So it's much safer. Don't get out of your car.
Wow, very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
deal. It's just that the other contract is multi-million dollars over multiple years, so it's just the procurement process is much more complicated. So we had to do this second stopgap measure.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, you too.
She always gives such a great presentation.
All right, moving on to item number 7, 2017 Activity Report Planning Division. Raul?
Yes, good afternoon, Raul Garcia, Planning Inspections. So I'll be quickly going over the activity for previous fiscal year in regards to zoning applications. So for zoning applications in fiscal year 2017, we did review 144 applications, which is on the high side when compared to the previous 5 fiscal years. These applications are comprised of detailed site plans, condition releases, but are overwhelmingly comprised of the rezoning and special permit applications that you see before the commission on a daily basis. As far as ZBA applications, those were also on the high side at 42. These are applications that the Zoning Board of Adjustments, that body acts on, and they're in regards to encroachments, certain encroachments that the ZBA can or may grant. And these primarily apply to a lot of these are existing encroachments where the fix would be the ZBA process. And if the ZBA is not an option, then that's when the next option would be either rezoning or a special permit. Zoning verification letters, those were also high, 401. With these are requests that involve some sort of research in regards to permissibility of uses. These come from private entities, from the private residents, where they're asking some sort of zoning-related questions in regards to their property. So we do the research and we respond to them in a written form and on a formal letter. And again, those were for 401 for the previous fiscal year. Building plans or building permits that required some sort of zoning action, those were high, 958. And again, these are only for the permits that required
Too late now. Didn't work. Too late now. She brought up coach, and I said, no, it's winter, you can't do yourself. You can't screw yourself. I'm as free as a bird now. The coach with the coach. I always saw it. You're looking for wheels. Hilarious. Yeah.
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 Well, I have about five or so, so I think we're in trouble. I had just got done texting my brother, pushing said, can't believe you. So you've got calls in, or are we making calls? What are you about? Next week. Is it, well, let me ask you this, I don't hear any of the conversations, I apologize. If you don't have forums, what's the availability if there's like an emergency meeting or something called Monday mornings? I know that's like very late, we got town. That's pretty, most of the requirements. I don't know. The real issues those are. Can't get a form. Yeah, I know. Oh, we're doing it on like a work session on Monday? Ooh, so we would have to do it early then.
Which is no purpose. Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. TERS 5 meeting, January 18th, Thursday. It's 3:15. Meeting scheduled to 3 o'clock. Roll call. Lane Gaddy here. Ruben Torres here. And I'll note that we need 7 for quorum and only 6 here, so we do not have quorum. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Meeting's adjourned at 3:25.
Yeah,